I'm gonna tell you about this dream I had, this rapture dream I had, but it's over 22 years ago. I had it at 21 years old, and I actually thought that I made a video about it and put it on TikTok. I kind of think I did, but apparently it's not on here. So I'm gonna say this again, okay? All right, so I remember this dream detail for detail too, and it's been 22 years. I remember everything in this dream. So in the dream, I am walking down the sidewalk in the old neighborhood where I grew up. And as I'm walking on the sidewalk, it's nighttime, and I look up in the sky, and I see this red dot in the sky, this red dot. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, what the heck is that? And then the red dot got bigger. It got so big that you couldn't see. It was a circle, and it got so big that you couldn't see where it began and where it ended. It's like a real, like a ring. You don't see the start or the cut. You don't see that. So as I saw this, I looked up, and the ring got bigger, and it got so big that it spread across the whole sky, but you couldn't see it. You couldn't see it because it spread so far as the eyes could see. So I started getting a little nervous because I wasn't born again at the moment, and I knew that in the dream. So I seen some dude that I know. He was with a girl. I have to say this because this is how the dream goes. He was with a woman who wasn't his girlfriend, but he was going in his apartment with this woman in the dream. And I said to him, hey man, do you see what's going on up in the sky? And he turns and looks at me as he was getting his keys ready to go into his apartment with his side chick. And he said, man, ain't nobody worried about that. And waved it off. Ain't nobody worried about that. And he went up in his apartment, shut the door. So I go down the end of the sidewalk, and I'm looking up, and then all of a sudden, it's like, you know, if you see like a different dimension, how it looks wavy and watery, like wavy and watery, that's what the sky started looking like. And then all of a sudden, these fireworks, the spinner ones that come down, and streamers, whatever they are, they started coming down. It was like a whole bunch of them lit up the sky. And I was like, oh my gosh, Jesus is coming. And I was extremely fearful. And as I'm looking up at the sky, I see all these fireworks happening and all these noises and stuff that's going on. I'm like, oh my gosh, Jesus is coming. And I was so scared. So when I looked over and my mom was standing at the door, and she was looking up in the sky, and she had this smile on her face, and she said, Lord, I'm ready. And I said, Ma, don't leave, please. And I turned and I looked up again, and then all of a sudden, I just see more and more stuff and more circles, and then I started hearing this winding noise. It's almost like, this winding noise was like, you ever see a movie when you know something's about to break in the scene, and you can hear in the sound like a moment that's building up to an explosion or something, like or something like that. But this winding noise was like a, and it kept getting bigger, like it was waiting to, it was like anticipating, like it was about to, something was about to explode. Needless to say, I looked up, and then I looked straight, and I saw these souls coming up out of the ground. And I'm going to read to you in 1 Thessalonians 4:14, 4:15, it says, for this we say unto you by the word of the Lord, that we which are alive and remain until the coming of the Lord shall not prevent them which are asleep, meaning those who are dead. And it says, for the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout and the voice of an archangel and with the trump of God. And the dead in Christ, those who are in the ground, those who died being born again Christians and lived their life in the correct manner, and it says, the dead in Christ shall rise first. Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord. Wherefore comfort one another with these words. Okay, so number one, when I saw the fireworks and I heard the whining noise, and then all of a sudden I'm looking around and I'm so scared. I'm so scared. And then the people start coming up out of the ground. Well, I turn and I look at my mom to say something, and she became a spirit. I looked back over to her, and she was a spirit and started floating up. And then I looked at myself, I looked at my hands, and I was still flesh. I instantly knew I'm not going. And that was probably one of the most fearful things I've ever had experienced in my life. So while all this fireworks and stuff is going on, and I see these people rising up, and then the winding noise is like they're about to take off, like a rocket. You know, it's just like you hear that noise, then it's like ignition, and it goes, and it goes up. But you hear the winding noise. It's like a winding noise. It was like I said, it was like that. And it's like the pitch of the sound kept getting louder. And I was looking around, and I seen everything in slow motion. I seen souls. I seen the just the sky in general. Oh, Lord have mercy, was so scary. And but at the same time, when I thought about the dream afterwards, I was like, that was actually a celebration of the King coming. When you seen the fireworks and stuff, I didn't hear the trumpet sound because he was coming regardless. But when you saw the fireworks in the sky and you hear the boom, 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 when you see all these things happen, there was a lot of it too. And it was just this noise. I can't explain it. And I just remember looking at my mom, and I was so scared because she changed. And it was like God was letting me see things in detail, and he slowed it down for me. And it was like, it was just everything I was seeing everything. It's like I was seeing it and like zooming in on everything to see the details of everything. He allowed me to do that, which was awesome. And then the winding noise started winding up, and it was just like a big whoosh. And then when it did that, I woke up. And I was so scared. I was so scared that day. And when I was down in Florida, that was when 50 Cent first came out. And that was one of my last weeks in Florida when I was staying down there. And I remember that I told my friends at the time, because we were going to see 50 Cent in concert that day. I woke up, I was so shook in that dream that I said, we got to go to the steak store because I got to get a bottle of Hennessy. So I bought like a little bottle of Hennessy about like that big, and I was in the car drinking it on the way to the concert, still shook about the dream. When we get to the stoplight, let's turn and look, we're in traffic. We get to the stoplight, red, yellow, green, whatever, and I look over, and this is how God was confirming things to me. He started dealing with my life right then and there. And I was drinking it. I was drinking a Henny, trying to just forget everything. And I turned and looked at this buggy, like a punch buggy, punchbacks. It was a buggy, and it had a bumper sticker on the back. Right after I had this dream, I got showered. We all went to this concert, but the bumper sticker said, and it had heaven in quotation marks, all capital letters. It said heaven, and it said, don't miss it for the world. Listen, when I was taking a sip, and I rested my head on the window and was just trying to forget the dream. I wasn't trying to forget. I was just trying to calm down because my heart was beating so fast. And I was like this, and I rested my head on the window, and I looked over, and I saw the bumper sticker. And I just said, God, whatever you're going to try to do, I said, whatever you want to do in my life, well, God, just do it. Just do it. You can't fight against him, And that dream was the most scariest time I've ever had in my life. And I do believe that in the book of Revelation, let me see, that it says the day of the Lord. John said, I was in the Spirit on the Lord's day. Yeah, he said he was in the Spirit on the Lord's day. And I looked up, I think it's John chapter 1. I'm trying to find it. Oh, yeah. Okay, well, anyways, it says that he was in the Spirit on the Lord's day. In Revelation 1:10, it says, I was in the Spirit on the Lord's day and heard behind me a great voice as the sound of a trumpet. Okay, I want you to think about that. He was in the Spirit on the Lord's day. And the prophet Joel says in Joel chapter 2 verse 31, the sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord come. I felt the terror is what the fear was of not going. That's what I felt was the terror of missing heaven. The fear and terror that is going to come to many if we're not ready to go. That's what I felt, and that's what I was trying to drink away and couldn't, because I was shaken to my core in my spirit and soul. So let this be a lesson, man. Let's continue to stay on the straight and narrow and forsake all ungodly things that are not of God and that are slowly trying to pull us down into the pit. God bless y'all. This is just a friendly reminder.